Why Suffering Makes You Beautiful, Nietzsche.in. The depths of human experience. There lies a paradox that has puzzled philosophers, poets, and seekers for millennia. It is the enigmatic relationship between suffering and beauty, pain and growth, hardship and transcendence. Today we embark on a journey to explore this profound connection, guided by the provocative insights of Friedrich Nietzsche, one of philosophy's most audacious thinkers. Nietzsche famously proclaimed, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." But what did he truly mean by this? Was it merely a platitude to comfort the afflicted, or did it contain a deeper truth about the human condition? As we delve into this question, we must first confront our own relationship with suffering. Think back to a moment of intense pain in your life. It could be physical, emotional, or spiritual. How did you feel in that moment? Broken? Defeated? Now reflect on who you became after enduring that pain. Did you emerge unchanged? Or did you find yourself transformed in ways you never anticipated? Nietzsche argued that suffering is not just an unfortunate aspect of life, but a necessary crucible for personal growth and the cultivation of beauty. He saw in pain the potential for metamorphosis, a fiery forge in which the human spirit could be tempered and refined. But why should this be so? Why can't we simply grow through joy and ease? To understand this, we must first recognize that comfort, while pleasant, rarely challenges us to evolve. It is in the face of adversity that we are forced to adapt, to question our assumptions, to push beyond our perceived limitations. Suffering strips away our pretenses and forces us to confront our true selves. Consider the butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. The struggle to break free is essential for its wings to develop the strength needed for flight. If we were to help the butterfly by cutting open the cocoon, we would doom it to a life of weakness, unable to soar. In the same way, Nietzsche suggests that our struggles are not obstacles to our growth, but the very means by which we become who we are meant to be. But let us be clear, Nietzsche was not advocating for purposeless suffering or masochism. Rather, he was urging us to reframe our perspective on the inevitable hardships of life. Instead of viewing pain as something to be avoided at all costs, he challenged us to see it as an opportunity for self-overcoming. This brings us to a profound question: how might your life change if you embraced your suffering as a catalyst for growth rather than a burden to be endured? What hidden strengths might you discover within yourself? Nietzsche introduced the concept of amor fati, love of fate. This doesn't mean passively accepting whatever happens to us, but actively embracing all of life's experiences, both joyful and painful, as essential components of our journey. It means saying yes to life in its totality, recognizing that our struggles are what shape us into who we are. But this is no easy task. It requires a radical shift in perspective, a willingness to dance with our demons rather than flee from them. It demands that we find meaning in our suffering, transforming it from mere pain into a crucible of personal evolution. Consider the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, creating something more beautiful than the original. This art form embodies the philosophy that our wounds and imperfections can become our greatest strengths, our most striking features. In the same way, Nietzsche suggests that our sufferings, when properly integrated, can become the very things that make us uniquely beautiful. As we navigate the often turbulent waters of existence, we must ask ourselves, are we merely victims of circumstance? Or can we become the artists of our own lives, using even our darkest experiences as raw material for self-creation? Nietzsche challenges us to become these artists, to view our lives as works of art in progress. Every struggle, every setback, every moment of pain becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of our existence. The question is not whether we will suffer, for suffering is an inevitable part of the human condition, but how we will use that suffering to sculpt ourselves into something magnificent. As we continue our exploration, we will delve deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy of suffering and beauty, examining how we can practically apply these ideas to our own lives. We will confront the challenges of this perspective and explore its potential to transform not just individuals but society as a whole. For now, I invite you to sit with this question: what if your greatest struggles are not obstacles to your beauty, but the very source of it? How might this shift in perspective change the way you approach the challenges in your life? The anvil of adversity, forging the Übermensch through tribulation. As we delve deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy, we encounter his concept of the Übermensch, or overman, a vision of human potential that transcends our current limitations. The Übermensch is not born, but forged through the fires of adversity and the hammer blows of suffering. This ideal represents the pinnacle of self-overcoming, a state of being where one not only endures life's hardships but transmutes them into sources of strength and beauty. But how do we begin this alchemical process of turning pain into power? Nietzsche suggests that the first step is to abandon the notion that suffering is inherently meaningless or unjust. Instead, we must view it as a challenge, an opportunity to prove our mettle and sculpt ourselves into something greater. Consider the ancient Spartan agog, a rigorous training system designed to create formidable warriors. The harshness of this training was not seen as cruelty, but as a necessary crucible for developing strength, resilience, and character. In a similar vein, Nietzsche urges us to view our personal struggles not as punishments, but as tests that can elevate us to new heights of being. Ask yourself, how would your approach to life's challenges change if you saw them not as obstacles to your happiness, but as essential components of your growth? What if every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt was reframed as an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate? Nietzsche's philosophy demands that we take responsibility for our own becoming. It's not enough to simply endure suffering passively. We must actively engage with it, wrestle with it, and ultimately transform it. This requires a tremendous act of will, what Nietzsche calls the will to power, not power over others, but power over oneself and one's circumstances. But this path is not for the faint of heart. It requires us to confront our deepest fears, to stare into the abyss of our own potential nothingness. Nietzsche warns that when you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. This reciprocal gaze can be terrifying, but it's also where true self-knowledge and transformation begin. Consider the myth of the phoenix, rising renewed from its own ashes. This powerful image encapsulates Nietzsche's vision of perpetual self-overcoming. Each cycle of suffering and rebirth brings us closer to our highest potential, burning away what is weak or false within us. But here's a challenging question: are you truly willing to die to your old self in order to be reborn? Are you prepared to let go of comfortable illusions and face the often harsh truths about yourself and the world? Nietzsche's philosophy is not about achieving a state of permanent happiness or tranquility. Instead, it's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience, including its darkest aspects. He argues that it's precisely in our moments of greatest struggle that we have the opportunity to become most fully alive, most authentically ourselves. Think of a time when you faced a significant challenge and overcame it. How did that experience change you? Did you discover strengths you didn't know you had? Did it alter your perspective on what you're capable of? Nietzsche would argue that these moments of triumph over adversity are glimpses of our potential to become the Übermensch. Each time we face our suffering head-on and emerge stronger, we take a step towards this ideal. As we move forward in our exploration, we'll examine how this philosophy can be applied in our daily lives and how it might transform not just individuals, but society as a whole. We'll confront the potential pitfalls of this perspective and explore its implications for our understanding of morality, purpose, and the human condition. For now, I leave you with this thought: what if the most beautiful aspects of your character are not those that came easily, but those that were hard-won through struggle and pain? How might this realization change the way you view your past sufferings and future challenges? The architect of agony sculpting significance from sorrow's stone. As we continue our journey through Nietzsche's philosophy of suffering and beauty, we must confront a challenging truth: not all suffering leads to growth or beauty. Some pain can be destructive, crushing the spirit rather than tempering it. So how do we distinguish between the suffering that elevates us and that which diminishes us? Nietzsche suggests that the key lies in our response to suffering. It's not the pain itself that transforms us, but how we choose to interpret and use that pain. This is where we become the architects of our own experience, the sculptors of our own character. Consider the difference between a victim mentality and what we might call a hero mentality. The victim asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The hero asks, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger?" It's this shift in perspective that can turn even the most harrowing experiences into catalysts for growth. But let's be clear, this is not about denying the reality of our pain or pretending that suffering is pleasant. It's about finding meaning in our struggles, about refusing to let our hardships define us or defeat us. As Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, famously said, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." I challenge you to reflect on a current struggle in your life. How might you reframe this challenge as an opportunity for growth? What strengths might you develop by facing this head-on? Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence offers another powerful tool for transforming our relationship with suffering. He asks us to imagine that we must relive our lives exactly as they are for all eternity. Every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, every failure, all of it repeated endlessly. How would this change the way you live? Would you be able to embrace even your darkest moments, knowing they are an integral part of the life you'd be willing to relive infinitely? This thought experiment isn't meant to induce despair, but to inspire us to live in such a way that we could joyfully accept such a fate. It challenges us to find beauty and meaning in every experience, even the painful ones. But this philosophy isn't just about personal transformation. Nietzsche believed that by embracing suffering as a path to beauty and strength, we could elevate not just ourselves, but all of humanity. He envisioned a world where people didn't shy away from challenges, but actively sought them out as opportunities for growth. Imagine a society where adversity is seen not as a curse, but as a crucible for creating exceptional individuals. How might this shift in perspective change our approach to education, to personal development, to social issues? Of course, this view of suffering is not without its dangers. There's a fine line between embracing necessary hardships and glorifying needless pain. We must be careful not to use this philosophy as an excuse for cruelty or indifference to the suffering of others. The goal is not to create suffering, but to transform the inevitable sufferings of life into sources of strength and beauty. As we near the end of our exploration, I want you to consider this profound question. What if the most beautiful thing you could create with your life is not a specific achievement or possession, but the very character you forge through your responses to life's challenges? Nietzsche's philosophy calls us to be artists of our own lives, using the raw materials of our experiences, both joyful and painful, to create something magnificent. It urges us to see beauty not just in perfection, but in the scars that tell the story of our becoming. In our final segment, we'll explore practical ways to apply these ideas in our daily lives and examine how this perspective might transform our understanding of success, happiness, and the meaning of life itself. The symphony of scars harmonizing hardship into a masterpiece of being. As we reach the culmination of our exploration into Nietzsche's philosophy of suffering and beauty, we find ourselves faced with a profound challenge. How do we practically apply these lofty ideas to our everyday lives? How do we transform the often mundane struggles of daily existence into a grand opus of self-creation? First, we must cultivate a radical acceptance of life in its totality. This doesn't mean passive resignation, but an active embrace of all that life offers, the sweet and the bitter, the light and the dark. When faced with adversity, instead of asking why me, we might ask, how can this serve me? This simple shift in perspective can transform our relationship with suffering. Consider keeping a growth journal where you document your struggles and the lessons you've gleaned from them. Over time, you'll create a personal roadmap of your evolution, a testament to your resilience and adaptability. This practice can help you recognize patterns in your response to adversity and refine your ability to transmute pain into personal power. Next, we must learn to see our scars, both literal and metaphorical, not as blemishes to be hidden, but as badges of honor that tell the story of our becoming. Like the Japanese art of kintsugi, we can fill the cracks in our lives with gold, turning our wounds into our most striking features. I challenge you to share your story of overcoming with others. In doing so, you not only reinforce your own growth, but also inspire those around you to find beauty in their own struggles. Remember, your triumphs over adversity are not just personal victories, they're beacons of hope for others navigating their own storms. Nietzsche's philosophy also calls us to constantly push beyond our comfort zones. Seek out challenges that scare you. Embrace the discomfort of growth. Remember, the butterfly's struggle to emerge from its chrysalis is what gives its wings the strength to fly. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of applying Nietzsche's ideas is learning to find joy in the process of becoming, rather than fixating on some final state of perfection. Life is not a destination, but a journey of perpetual self-overcoming. Each obstacle we face, each pain we endure, is an opportunity to sculpt ourselves anew. As we conclude, I want you to ponder this. What if the purpose of your life is not to achieve some external measure of success, but to become the fullest, most authentic version of yourself? What if your true legacy is not what you leave behind, but who you become in the face of life's challenges? Nietzsche's philosophy offers us a powerful lens through which to view our existence. It challenges us to see beauty not in spite of our suffering, but because of it. It urges us to become the artists of our own lives, using even our darkest experiences as raw material for self-creation.so. I leave you with this final question. How will you use the palette of your experiences, the vibrant joys and the somber sorrows, to paint the masterpiece of your life? Remember, in the grand gallery of existence, it's not the flawless paintings that capture our attention, but those that tell a story of triumph over adversity, of beauty forged in the crucible of pain. Embrace your struggles, cherish your scars, and step boldly into the magnificent process of becoming. For in doing so, you don't just endure life, you transform it into a work of art.